Hey everyone, this is Phoneybeetlemaniacxs, and I'm going to deal with a subject that maybe some of you know about, maybe some of you don't, which is Jesus Mythicism. Now, everyone knows I'm a Christian, I will say, oh, you're only trying to defend your point of view. No, it's about the truth. It doesn't matter. Like, for example, for those atheists out there, you haven't got creationists about, dealing misleading facts. Now, you have no problem with me, but you probably have a problem with what I believe. But again, that's our personal opinion as a crowd, and I'm not really going against quote-unquote science now, am I? Again, I have no problem with atheists, I just have a problem with people misrepresenting facts. And I think that Jesus Mythicism does represent facts, because they never present anything like a coherent case for why Jesus was, pagan parallel, or anything like that. Or every time we, there's a bit of critical thinking put to it, it always falls down. And the only place you find it is on the internet, which just shows you, which there are parallels there to creationism. Let's say that. Again, I have no problem with you positing it if you're factually based. If you're trying to base a factually point, but don't do it on something that's been refuted. That's all I'm going to say to you. Which is why I am going to go on a new argument that I hadn't heard before, which is called the Flavian Thesis. Now, I'm going to leave a link to 3 videos and to the actual documentary page, which are going to be found down below. Because, again, I'm not somebody who's afraid of linking to things that disagree with me. You're going to see three clips from it. One of them is from somebody I hadn't heard before, which was a doctor of some Australian religious studies class, who should be struck off right away, but I'll get into that in a minute. One of them is Ken Humpheries, who I had heard of before because of his debate with JB Holding, otherwise known as Tets on TV. And the other one who I'd heard of before was Timothy Freke, who with Peter Gandhi had created one of the worst books ever, which is The Pagan Origins of Christ, which featured on the cover the long known to be fake Dionysus amulet. For those who don't know what that is, Google it. So let's deal with this new thesis, and let's deal with it in an honest way. Now, let's see what they're saying. Now, let's deal with Ken Humpheries and the way he understands history. He doesn't understand it, right? So that's him dealt with. And I'm going to get into a little show why, because again, the most substantial problem with this thesis comes from this religious studies guy, as I'm going to show in a minute. Now, Timothy Freke being associated with your documentary is like me doing a video against a documentary against evolution, and featuring Ken Hovind. It's not the most reliable source. I mean, he is terrible. And the bad thing is he's a Unitarian, so he's on my side of goddamn things. It just makes me facepalm. Anyway, so let's deal with what this religious professor get, because if I can disprove this, then the whole theory is a pack of cards and comes coming down. Now, they make a couple that the Flavian Thesis is that the Bible was written between 1969 and 97 by the Flavian dynasty to keep people in control. That is their theory. It's basically the crux of their theory. Now let's apply a little bit of critical thinking to that. Christianity existed before that theory. Christianity existed in 50 AD. We have evidence of this by the Suetonius 12 Caesars thing, which I know some people do use as an example that Jesus existed because he doesn't mention Christ. I don't think it's really that, because all he mentions is that Christians are being persecuted by Nero. He also talks about the uprising of the Jews in Rome, but again, that's a different thing. He's talking about Christ as in the Holy the whole, as in the leader, not Jesus. But you see, this is what you get when they're unfamiliar with these things. Now, not only that, he's unfamiliar with Tacitus, who also mentions the Lion killings. And most people say, "Oh, but it's proven to be adulteration or interpolation." It hasn't. Most people who are scholars of Tacitus actually say is that, I mean, they have no dog in this fight, in the Christian atheist fight. I mean, some of them may be atheists, some may be Christians. I don't know. But what I do know is that they're scholars in their field and they know what they're talking about. And unfortunately, these guys don't. I would say pretty younger, but he tends to talk about things in his own preface. So those two things, which happened in AD 50, sort of put a pay to this whole nonsense. Okay. Next thing, let's deal with Ken Humpheries. Now, Ken Humpheries is probably one of the most dishonest people that you'll ever come across. Now, what he says is that all evidence has been whittled away. It hasn't. People are still debating the thre. I mean, people are coming to. I talked about whether the Scotch marks could be replicated by humans, and we're no closer to knowing whether it can or not. So why not discuss that? See, that's not being honest. See, I could have done a video saying, "Aha, this proves that Jesus exists," and talk about and put an article out there which I found, but I didn't. And would you know why the reason I didn't? Because I want to be honest. Something, Mr. Humpheries, you could learn about. The other thing, Mr. Humpheries, that you do is that you equate the Maccabean revolt to what Jesus was doing. Jesus was in the context of Second Temple Judaism, which I will get to when I come back to this this Australian professor. Now, the Australian professor goes on to talk about how Jesus is Judaism for Gentiles. It isn't. It's Judaism for Jews. If you understand Second Temple Judaism, you understand Christianity, okay? If you don't understand it, then you don't. It's as simple as that. You can't understand where Jesus is coming from, where Jesus is historically, unless you understand Second Temple Judaism. It's like trying to understand words to Churchill without understanding the Second World War, okay? Those are just fundamental understandings of it. So we've got to understand that. Before Jesus, this is basically, I'm going to give you the historical context. And people can say, "Ooh, you're full of shit." Well, no, this is the honest to God, historical context. Okay, we're talking about a Jerusalem that had survived the onslaught of the Greeks. The people had been carted off into Babylon, had come back, had the first temple destroyed by the Greeks. No, by the Persians, sorry. Come back again, built the second temple, and now the Romans had rolled in and basically were trying to get people into their, doing exactly what the Greeks had tried to do and tried to persuade people into their point of view. So to say that this is gentle Christian makes no sense. That's what the Pharisees were trying to do. Have you never read the New Testament? Again, this is what the whole thing is about. This is why they are predicting the destruction of the Second Temple, is because they are trying to they're basically, the Pharisees are trying to get the Christians to buy more into paganism than Judaism, and that's why that's why Jesus accuses them of playing with devils and doing all this bad stuff, because that's what they're doing. They're looking at what the pagans are doing, which is like charging a lot of money to speak to oracles, not allowing people access to Torah, telling people not to adore Torah and to go towards more idolic service. This is the context. If you do not understand this, you do not understand Christianity. I'm sorry, that is the beginning, middle and end of this discussion. Okay? This is why I get cross with Jewish mysticism. They do not understand what I just explained to you. That is what's called historical knowledge, people. It is. Now, the Flavian Thesis just fails because because it's saying, oh, well, the Greeks wrote it, even though they didn't. They present no evidence. They just assert it without any evidence at all. They have no methodology. They have very little understanding of the events which led up to the... Again, even if you think that the Bible is all crap, even if you think that, even if you think the entire New Gospel, the Gospels are entire, parts of fiction, and you don't believe any of it, even if you believe that, what these people said is historically wrong. So again, it matters. The historical understanding of whether Jesus existed or not should matter. It shouldn't matter whether you're a believer or not. Should it not? I mean, if he didn't exist, you'd be like pointing out fact after fact after fact after fact, would you not? And the fact that I'm pointing out these facts, these are undisputed, by the way. Things that you can look up. I mean, you don't have to believe what I'm telling you. Look up scholar. You can look up any scholar out there, Greco-Roman, whoever. And that is what's wrong with you. And a little side note to Kate. Kate, don't say Jesus didn't exist. It just makes you look like an idiot. All right. If somebody out there was to present their case of Jesus didn't exist, do so. Please use facts. But I'm not going to soft-pedal on my answer to you. No, the fact is that I've finished being nice on this subject for the same reason that people have stopped being nice on creationism. There comes a point where you're fucking with actual facts and education about an important part of our history. Okay? It shouldn't matter whether you're an atheist or theist. It should matter that the facts are right. And hopefully you agree with me. This is Phoneybeetlemaniacxs, and I'm out.